Hello everyone and welcome to the Kiki London YouTube channel. My name is Amanda and in today's video we're going to be doing another Valentine's set of nails, but this time we're going to be going for a black and nude design. So I really hope you all enjoy watching. Now I am working on display tips, so if you was doing this set on yourself or a client, you would need to do all of your prep and your base coat to begin with. Now I have got a dedicated prep video up on the Kiki London channel, so I will leave that linked in the description box below if you want to see how I do that. Now the first nail in this design is a nude and black ombre, and they can be a little bit tricky. They're certainly not something I have lots of experience with, and I do find that they take a little bit of practice to perfect them, but I was quite pleased with how this one turned out, so I thought I would share any tips and tricks I have with you guys. Now first of all, my nude is blush, and I opted to use blush for my nude because it is a little bit on the sheerer side. It's not as opaque as some of the Kiki London nude colours, and I find that a little bit easier when we're working with such a highly pigmented colour and we need to create a fade in between those two colours. So I've applied Black Heart, which is the black gel polish, at the very tip of the nail, and I've taken that up to the blush. As you see though, I did take the blush roughly 3/4 of the way down the nail, and then taking my Kiki London Ombre brush, I'm starting to blend those two colours together. Now like I said, the blush is a little bit more sheer and the black is very, very opaque, but we want to create in the middle this smoky grey colour that we're starting to create now. So I'm just starting off by blending out the harsh line where those two colours meet, and I'm doing this by quite swiftly moving my brush backwards and forwards. It looks a lot faster than what it is, and that's because the video has been sped up a little bit. But I'm basically just getting rid of that harsh line. Then when we've got rid of the harsh line, I'm going to take the grey that's starting to be created into the pink and then bring that pink a little bit more into the black. I'm checking my sidewalls each time just to make sure that I'm fading out to the very edges of the nail. Now this is only the first coat. Your first coat in an ombre is never going to look perfect. I do like to leave it to sit for a minute though before popping it into cure, just to help those colours bleed together and any of the brush lines to fade out a little bit. So that's our first coat done. Now when it comes to the second coat, this is more when you perfect your ombre. So I'm coming in with blush at the cuticle area, taking that down, and I'm taking this down over that fade that we have already created. I want to still take this down roughly just over halfway down the nail. And as you can see, blush is such a beautiful nude. It is one of my favourite nude colours. Then with the Black Heart, I'm wiping off a lot of that product from my brush. I only want to apply a little bit of this because it's already pigmented enough that you can get away with only doing one coat with this colour. So I mainly want the Black Heart to continue creating that blend. So I'm going to start off the same as before. I'm blending out that harsh line between the blush and the Black Heart, and you can see it starts creating a bit of a creamy grey colour. Then once you have created that centre colour, you need to blend that centre colour into the blush and then into the black. So I'm starting off by taking it down into the blush, and this is where I'm being very, very careful. You don't want to pull too much of that colour down. You want to kind of judge it as you're going. So I like to do a few strokes and then I'll be cleaning off my brush. Whenever you see my brush go out of shot, that's usually when I'm cleaning it off. And I do find to create a soft ombre, you do need to keep your brush quite clean, otherwise you end up muddying the colours a little bit too much. So here I'm looking at the sides and I'm not 100% happy with the ombre at the very side of the nail. So I'm just focusing a little bit of attention there with my brush, just because I find personally when I do an ombre, I end up mainly focusing on the center of the nail and the sidewalls get missed a little bit. So I do like to come in and fix those up. Then I just ever so slightly blended that grey colour that we've created into the Black Heart. It doesn't need too much attention there because the Black Heart's very pigmented, so you're not going to be able to blend it in too much, if that makes sense. Looking at the nail though, I wasn't 100% happy with the ombre. So what I decided to do was take a little bit of blush onto my palette and a little teeny tiny bit of Black Heart. And what that's going to do is that's going to create that grey colour that we've already created on the nail. Then I'm going to use that to blend into the black a little bit more, just to create a more softer transition. And I'm only using a very small amount of this at a time and wiping off my brush when I need to go in with a little bit more, just so that I don't take too much of that grey into the blush, because it would be very easy for the grey to overpower the blush, and we don't want that to happen. We still want there to be that nice soft transition between the blush into the black part. Now personally, a nude and black ombre I do think is one of the trickiest nail designs to do, but as with anything with nails, the more you do it, the more practice you get, the more you're going to get better at it. I know that in time I can definitely do this a little bit better than I have done today, but I was very happy with the outcome. Now that we've finished the design, I'm going to come in and top coat. So I'm top coating using the No White matte top coat. Now I absolutely loved how this now looked matte. I thought it looked absolutely beautiful. And throughout this set, I was going to have a mix of matte and glossy nails, but the other three designs, I felt as though they all looked better glossy and this one matte. So towards the end of the video, it looked a little bit odd. I felt that there was only one matte nail. So I do end up popping a glossy top coat over this one. That's why the thumbnail for the picture shows all of the nails glossy, but how beautiful does it look matte? I think it looks stunning. You could add some nail art over the top of this, a little bit of glitter or some hearts. You don't have to keep it plain, but I do think it looked absolutely beautiful plain as well. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the ombre, and let me know if you have tried a black and nude ombre and how you got on. If you have any tips and tricks, please do share them in the comments box below, because it does help us all out. On to the second nail in this design, I'm going to do 2 coats of blush. All of the nails in this set have blush as the base because I wanted the set to flow nicely, and I do always feel that if you have the same colour nude throughout, everything just flows. Now I've cured each of my coats for 30 seconds, and then I'm going to be taking the Old English water decals. So I'm going to cut out the decals that I want to use as close to the image as possible. So here we've cut out LOVE for love, and I've tried to cut off as much of that white excess as possible. Now I'm going to be applying these water decals in a slightly different method to usual. So I'm going to pop these in my water to soak. Recently, I've been applying all of my decals using the stamper method, but because I was writing a word with these, I thought that I might need to move them around a little bit more than usual. So I'm actually going to stick these down into my wet base coat. This is a great trick that I picked up a few years ago. If you have a water decal that you're not 100% sure where you want to place it, by placing them down in wet base coat, it means you can pick up and move the water decal around as much as you want to without it sticking to the nail. If you're just sticking the water decal down on top of the tacky surface, it kind of sticks in place exactly where you pop it down. It's a little bit hard to move it around. With this particular design, I did feel as though I might have to move those letters around a little bit just to get them placed flowing how I wanted them to go. So that was why I opted to use this method. So all I've done is pop down my thin layer of base coat. You want to keep it nice and thin so you don't add any bulk to the nail. And then I'm going to pop my water decals down, and I'm using the dotting tool end of my gem tool just to move them into place. And I don't end up having to move them around too much, but what it did mean was if I wasn't happy with how one of the letters was placed, I'd be able to pick it up and move it without it being stuck down too harshly to the nail. So taking the LOVE, I just want to go across the nail. This one was being a little bit tricky and didn't want to come off my tweezers. Now, of course, you could still do this design without the base coat. You could still do this with the stamper method, but I just wanted to show you guys a different way of applying them. This way is also great if you have any problems getting your water decals to stick. I know sometimes if I'm sticking water decals down over a finished nail, so if I've done my builder gel layer and filed and buffed, I find it a little bit hard to stick water decals down on top of that. So if you are doing that method, you can also use this tip here with the base coat to do that. Once I had got all those water decals in place, I popped the base coat in to cure for 30 seconds, and then I just wanted to draw a cute little heart on the bottom of the love just to finish this nail off. So I'm going to take the dotting tool end side of the gem tool, and I'm also going to be using my detail brush. And all I'm going to do is the most simplest way of doing a heart. So I'm taking that dotting tool end, loading up it with my black heart, and then I'm going to do 2 small dots down on the nail, and these are going to be those top arches of our heart. You can use your dotting tool to sort of swell that gel polish to make them a little bit bigger if you want to, but I was happy with the size that they come out. Then taking the detail brush, I'm going to pop a tiny amount of gel polish on that detail brush, and I'm going to bring the sides of those little dots down into a point and then just colour that heart in. I then took a little bit more just to create the V at the top of the heart, just so it was nice and sharp and detailed. And it is honestly the most simple way of doing a heart, and it just looks super, super cute. Now that I'm happy with our heart, I'm going to pop this in to cure for 30 seconds. I personally find that black heart is pigmented enough to only need one coat, but if you wanted to, you could come over it with a second coat. Now, because I've worked with the water decals, I do like to seal them in with the no wipe rubber top coat, just because I feel as though it evens the entire nail out. If you do have any little areas of your water decal that are sticking up or a little bit raised from your gel polish, the rubber top coat smooths all of that out and leaves you with a really nice even surface. So I've applied a thin layer of that, and then I've popped that in to cure for 60 seconds, and that is our second design done. How cute does it look? I think this would make a lovely accent nail in a simple set if you didn't want to do designs on all of the nails. On to the third design, I have already done my 2 coats of blush, curing each of those for 30 seconds. And we're then going to come in with the foil gel, as we're going to be applying some foils to this nail. So I'm taking a thin coat of the foil gel, and I'm making sure to apply it to the entire nail, really getting down the sides and then just wiping off any excess. You only need to cure the foil gel for 30 seconds if you are using the Kiki London Deluxe lamp that I have showed you guys there. If you are using a different lamp or a non-Kiki London lamp, you may need to play around with your curing times. I highly recommend using the Kiki London lamp just because it's designed, all the products and the lamps are designed to work together. But if you are using a different lamp and having problems with your foils, then play around with your timings. You may find that you need to cure for longer in a different lamp, or you may find that you need to cure for shorter. Of course, I would always recommend with starting with the 30 seconds and seeing how you get on. Now I'm going to be using this beautiful marble foil. I absolutely love this foil because it's got a clear back, so you're only going to get that black marbled pattern, and that means you can pop this over any colour and it looks absolutely amazing. As you see there, I have rubbed out my foil. I do have more dedicated foil videos up on the channel, so I will leave the particular foil tutorial linked in the description box below, as I talk in depth on that one about how to apply my foils. This one was just a really quick and easy design. Now that we've got the foil down, I wanted to add a little bit of glitter running through this foil. So I'm taking the beautiful champagne spritz. This glitter gel polish is jam-packed with sparkles. I only want to use a little bit of it, but you can see there it's just completely full of sparkle. And I'm also going to take my Kiki London stripe liner brush, and all I want to do is run a few more lines through this marble just so we have a little hint of sparkle. So I've loaded up my stripe liner brush and I'm very lightly just running through the marble. I don't want to apply too much pressure because I don't want to apply too much product. I don't want these lines to be too thick or bulky. I want them to be really soft and subtle because the black marble from the foil is quite soft and subtle itself. So I don't want the glitter to overpower that. Another thing I wanted to point out, when you are adding in your own lines to a marble that's already been created, whether you're using foils or you've done it with gel polish, try to follow the pattern that's already there, as then it just all looks a little bit more appealing to the eye. So as you can see, I'm following that main line along with my glitter, and it just all flows a little bit better. And I felt as though this nail was absolutely beautiful just with the nude and black, but adding in that little bit of sparkle just gave it a little bit of something extra. Once you are happy with your glitter, you can pop this in to cure for 30 seconds. And then we're going to come over and seal all of this in. Again, I'm using the no wipe rubber top coat because it's just my preferred top coat to seal any nail art in. If you don't have the no wipe rubber top coat in your kit, you can use the regular no wipe top coat. If you do feel as though you need a bit more of a smoother surface, you can pop 2 coats of the no wipe top coat down, but I always seem to reach for my no wipe rubber top coat. It's definitely my go-to. I love that it's that little bit thicker without being too thick and bulky, and it just smooths everything out. And as you can see here, it has such a beautiful high shine to it as well. So I've popped that in to cure for 60 seconds. And then once that's cured, you can again see it has such a beautiful high shine to it. So that's design number 3 finished. We're now going to move on to the 4th and final design. Again, I have already done a blush off camera. So 2 coats, curing each coat for 30 seconds. And then on this nail, I decided to do a glitter fade. I wanted to add in a little bit more of that champagne spritz. I really liked how subtle it was running through the marble, but I thought it'd be nice to pull a little bit more of the gold into the set, because although a lot of the set I wanted to be black and nude, I quite liked how the gold looked. So to start off with doing my glitter fade, I applied my champagne spritz at the very tip of the nail, and then I'm just blending it backwards and forwards just to distribute that glitter that's in the gel around. You want to make sure that you're getting a nice thin layer before you start fading it back. Then using the very tip of my ombre brush, I'm starting to fade that glitter back, trying to keep everything quite neat at the sidewalls because you don't want to end up with any bulky sidewalls, which can happen when you are moving your gel polish around. Then I decided just to take a little teeny tiny bit more onto my actual brush, just because I wanted to bring that ombre down a little bit more. So again, keeping just using the very tips of my ombre brush, I'm fading this down the nail. I want there to be quite a nice soft and subtle fade, so I'm going from side to side, moving those glitter pieces around. And because the glitters are in a clear, it's a very clear gel that the glitters are in the actual gel polish, so it makes things like glitter fades really easy because you're only moving the glitter down the nail. Now I was really happy with the fade, but I wanted the very tip of the nail to pop a little bit more, so I come in with a second coat of champagne spritz, but I'm mainly applying this at the very tip of the nail and then blending it back. I'm not taking this as far down as what I did with the first coat, just because that way you're then going to keep that nice soft glitter fade but with a bit more coverage at the very tip of the nail. Going to pop that in to cure for 30 seconds, and then you could leave this design here if you wanted to, so you could come in and seal everything in with your preferred top coat and that be this nail done. But I wanted to add a few of the black crystals, so I'm going to pop down a thin layer of the no wipe rubber top coat. If you are applying crystals, then I would recommend to set them into your no wipe rubber top coat, as it's such an easy way to apply them. So here we have the jet black crystals. I love these. They have a little bit of a shine to them, but they are more of the matte effect, and that's really pretty in my opinion, but they do still catch and reflect the light. So I've just popped some of these down on to my Kiki London palette, and then I'm using the waxy end to pick up my crystals. I wanted to keep the crystal placement quite simple because the design already has a lot going on with the glitter fade, so I didn't want to do anything too fancy with the crystals, just because I thought it might look a little bit messy. But what I'm doing is I've just started off with the largest size crystal, and then I've gone smaller as we've gone out from the center. I find that when I'm working with crystals around the cuticle area, it's a lot easier to do it this way. You have your larger crystal in the center, and that's kind of like the main focus, and then they just go smaller as you go out and around the cuticle, sorry. I feel as though it looks a lot neater. Once those crystals were in place, I then popped the nail into cure for 60 seconds, and then this is where I was looking at the set and I felt as though the matte nail looked massively out of place with the other nails all being glossy. So I decided to come over the top with the no wipe top coat, and I just felt as though it all matched better with the nails all being glossy. Let me know your opinion in the comments below. I really hope you all enjoyed watching. If you did, then please do give the video a thumbs up or leave us a comment below. If you do have any requests or questions, also pop them in the comments below and I'll be happy to help. Thank you all so much for watching. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.